31 Days of Dread. David Cronenberg, Stephen King. Day 27 brings us The Dead Zone. Let's hit that music, cause I cannot wait to talk about this movie. Let's go. The Dead Zone, bucket list movie. The other bucket list movie that we've done for the 31 Days of Dread was The Dark Half, also a Stephen King book. Yeah, both of these I've rented so many times on DVD, on VHS. They were always on the top of the best Stephen King adaptation books. Stephen King adaptations went the same way, like almost the same exact arc as comic book adaptations, where you had some good ones and then it was just like mediocre, and then boom, like everything got good. Stephen King's in that boom, everything got good run. That which is why I'm very curious to see Dark Tower. I don't know. There's so much. There's a lot in that movie that appeals to me that I'm kind of refusing. That it's not going to refusing the idea that it's not going to win me over, especially with Elvis and McConaughey. So yeah, so one time, you kind of had The Shining, you had Carrie, you had Christine, you had Dark Half, and you had The Dead Zone, and those were like your best Stephen King adaptations. Then like Misery and Shawshank came along, and Green Mile, and then like slowly we started to get some competition. And I waited even for the 31 Days of Dread. We kept doing David Cronenberg, and it's like I waited so long just to see this movie, and I sat down, and the music alone, Michael Kamen. If you guys don't know Michael Kamen, if you haven't heard Last Action Hero, X-Men, the Lethal Weapon, his Lethal Weapon work alone is in my view Star Wars level. But he's one of the most two-time Oscar winner. He's one of the all-time best musicians to ever go through Hollywood. And the typical geek will always say, they'll say James Horner, or they'll say Thomas Newman, and they'll say John Williams and Hans Zimmerman, but they'll never say Michael Kamen. And shame on you, because you should know this guy's name. Know my name, as Chris Cornell said in the Casino Royale song. But his work alone, I mean, like his IMDb is just a massive. I can't even make any sense of it. But yes, his music, the font, the typeface for this movie, like the font logo, it's like his music, and it's a slow reveal into the logo, and it's just still shots of the town, and they're fading into one another, and it's not. I mean, this is a effect we can do in Adobe After Effects. We literally can do this in minutes. But man, it's all 80s. It's 100% dated, and it just works. It resonates, and this movie got me right away. It didn't take long to pull me in. We go, just to do the plot, maybe, to go through some of it. Let's do that. But I just wanted to give a little bit of context. So, The Dead Zone is a book by Stephen King. It's his, let me see, it's his 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, eighth book. It's right between The Long Walk and Firewalker. This book came out in 1979, and yeah, it's essentially one of Stephen King's earlier books, and I kind of want to read the book now after seeing this, because I just feel like there's a little bit more depth, and David Cronenberg wrote and directed this. So when it comes to him and his filmography, this is kind of like in the middle of his career. we already spoke about Shivers. I kind of was debating if we should do Rabid or not. We still have a couple days left. But for Cronenberg, it's Shivers, Rabid, Face Company, The Brood. And then we have, it's almost like his political trilogy, because he went through a run of, and a lot of 80s movies did this. They almost like demonized corporations. They demonized mostly local politicians or politicians that were like on the up and up. Even like taxi drivers guilty of that, even though like that's 70s. Um, so like, but no one talks about the how they just attacked local politicians in 80s movies. So Cronenberg goes on a run where he kind of does exactly this. In 81 we have Scanners. In 83 we have Videodrome. And 83 we also have The Dead Zone. So he had two movies come out in 83. And then we go on this. It's almost like a like I would say like it's he brings us to Fly 3 years later, 1986, and then it's Naked Lunch, Madam Butterfly, and Crash, and that's another theme. That's another trilogy. I'm trying to classify it. I just want to do like a whole thing on Cronenberg, and then we have Existence and Spider. Those are complementary, and then we have History of Violence, Eastern Promises. Again, two that are complementary. A Dangerous Method, Cosmopolis, and Maps to the Stars. Maps to the Stars is one of I haven't seen that. I gotta see that. But yeah, so we got King, we have Cronenberg teaming up. We have one of the best musicians, the best scorers, the best guys who run an orchestra. Michael Kamen working on this movie, and then we have Christopher Walken. So what's not to love? What's not to flip out? After we get these incredible credits, I think that should be like a Dream Warriors thing. Yeah. So after these credits, it's Christopher Walken. He is a teacher, professor, teaching a class. I always love how these are introduced, like these types of characters are introduced because it's always at the end of the class. It's never in the middle. He does his thing and it's like a quick assignment and then boom. And I never had that, but yeah. So it's kind of funny. He's talking about Sleepy Hollow, and Sleepy Hollow is a theme that runs throughout this movie. And he's later the headless horseman in Sleepy Hollow. That blew me away. But yeah, so he's in love. There's like this rainstorm, which I think looking back, that the rainstorm with him and his girlfriend is almost like symbolic of their relationship, where it's like stormy and broken, but like kind of like okay, like very hopeful. And we have like a couple indications leading into this scene. It's essentially the third scene of the movie. The middle scene is they take an excursion to a amusement park and they're on a roller coaster, and he starts getting little blips of this power. So he gets into a car accident, wakes up 5 years later, and he has his power. He can see the past, present, and like future. Of course, he can see the present, but he touches people and he can see things. So this puts him on the path, and it's interesting because he kind of becomes, and this is what I'm like. I kind of want to get into the book because I want to see if it delves into it. But he becomes almost like a celebrity. He gets notes. He sees people. He helps people. He solves a murder, and then he gets involved with politics. And this is where the movie really becomes fantastic, because once he gets involved with politics, he touches Martin Sheen, who's a senator, and he sees that this guy, I guess, we'll just use the definitions from the movie. The guy becomes Adolf Hitler, and Christopher Walken he's put on the philosophical mission. If you could stop Hitler, would you? If you knew what Hitler would become, and that's the arc of the movie. That's where we go, and I really don't feel like there is much more to discuss about this other than this is a essential movie. It's a must see. It is one of I think one of Stephen King's best stories. I kind of knock him for, I don't think he does really good like hooks. I don't think he does good hooks. I think he does good plots. I think he does fantastic characters. I think he understands the settings he puts these characters in. And but like the punch, the hook, the gotcha, I don't think it's there all the time for Stephen King. And I think when people adapt Stephen King, they're able to accentuate what some of the hooks are. But yeah, and bravo for Stephen King for not making Christopher Walken a a writer, an author. Thank you, David Cronenberg, for not making this a first-person narration or having the our protagonist as the narrator. Which is again another criticism. I'm just sick of Stephen King doing that. But yeah, so this movie, like it did hit a point where it definitely was slow and dated. This is definitely Cronenberg's like quote unquote like studio movie. Like here's a studio like we accept you, and please make this movie. Definitely feels like he's somewhat like holding back, but also being experimentational and doing a different type of movie with a different format, with a different draw. The middle of the movie, I just felt like lagged a little bit, but it could be lost in translation because it's an older movie. So now you kind of watch modern movies and you get even drama versus drama. You get addicted to the beats, to the movements. And everyone in Hollywood kind of like emulates and copies and pays homage to one another, just to keep it churning. So that's kind of what, like, a little bit of what happens. Okay. And, but it doesn't take away from the movie because what Christopher Walken goes through in this, it's an escalation. And there's nonstop conflict in what to do with what he knows. And Cronenberg is able to craft an urgency and tragedy within this movie. And this movie is tragic. It's sad. It's not hopeful, but at the same time, you're okay with it. Like like you know there was a sacrifice made at the end of the movie, and it's, like somehow like the universe is balanced out, but the dead zone is a little bit like the dark half for me, but I would say this is more because the storyline was so impactful that the dead zone is something that we should all know, we should all be able to talk about. Yeah, especially if you're just into Christopher Walken, I think this is one of his better performances. I don't know, like top down Christopher Walken performances. I think he's more of a walk on. Like his better stuff is as a supporting actor, but as leading man, as of the guy, like I would say this and like War Dogs are his best two movies. But check it out. Uh, just like watch it with a couple friends. Watch it with anyone that's a fan of Stephen King, because I really do think this is when Stephen King was like at his best. I think earlier King is the absolute best, just in ideas alone and what some of the arcs and the hooks are. But yeah, Dream Warriors 31 Days of Dread, episode 27, another shorter one. But hey, check this movie out. It's available on Amazon Instant. You can, just you can. I think it's a $3 rental. Might have been $1 rental. I might call it at $1, but it doesn't matter. Just check it out. I want to do a further analysis. I keep saying that with everything, but I want to watch this movie a few more times and really break it down and drill into what everyone within the production, like what they bled off and led into. But this is the 31 Days of Dread. This is day 27, the Dead Zone. Everyone have a good evening and have a good day. and let's just do this. Let's hit that music and goodbye.